Hey you guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin'. Today I've got a gear review for you. Everything from reels to swim baits, soft plastic, top water. This is gonna be fun. Let's go. Gear reviews are one of my favorite videos to shoot. You guys know this. This lets my inner tackle junkie out. It lets me buy all sorts of new tackle to experiment with. And then we report back with the best of the best. Today I've got a bunch of completely random items for you. Everything from top water to swim baits to terminal to soft baits. We're going to start here with a reel because this is the most excited I've been about a reel in a long time. This is the Shimano Miravel. We saw this at ICAST. It launched there. We finally got our hands on one. And these should, if they're not in stock today, will be in stock any day. Down in the video description, we'll leave links to all of this gear for you, our favorite colors, favorite sizes in the reel, that sort of thing. But check those links because this should be there. The Miravel is amazing. We're talking $129 reel that's super smooth, and most importantly, it's lightweight. So check this out. At 129 bucks, the closest reel would be the Noski. We're all familiar with the Shimano Noski. This comes in at 1.3 ounces lighter than a Noski, and a full 2 ounces lighter than just about every other reel in a similar price point. I mean, it's ridiculously light. I'm amazed by that. So Shimano has two lines of reels, and I don't think most people realize this. There's spinning reels that are dedicated towards power, and there's spinning reels that are dedicated towards lightweight and finesse. And they're two very different lines of reels. So Noski is in the more power end of things, and the Miravel is in that more finessey end of things. So it's a CI4 plus body. They got a ton of weight out of it, and it's just a phenomenal reel at an amazing price. It's incredibly smooth. It's got a bunch of technology that has trickled down from very high-end reels, and I'm blown away by it. I mean, being 1.3 ounces lighter or 2 ounces lighter is insane. To do that at 129 bucks is phenomenal, because if you were going to do that in high-end gear, if you wanted to cut an ounce out of high-end gear, you're talking about $300, $400, $500, $1,000 to jump up high enough to take that kind of weight out. And one of the biggest issues with budget or affordable tackle is how heavy it is. I think this reel is going to be amazing for years, and will probably set some standards that other people have to chase because it is so light. So very impressed by that, and that's why I wanted to open with that one. Next up, you know what, I'm going to talk apparel real quick. Tim and I love playing with tackle. The one thing we're terrible at is ever telling people when we design anything. You know, our baits, we hardly talk about them. We have all sorts of new apparel that's come out recently. Our new hoodie, you know, we do our apparel with Aftco. We've partnered with them on that so that we can have really high-end apparel for people. But we wanted to do some more budget-friendly stuff, or things that you can just wear day in and day out. You know, you don't want to wear a Reaper with a mask up when you're going to dinner in town. So just more of a traditional hoodie, sun mask, and then we also just have a straight t-shirt now. So you can wear the logo without having to wear a performance shirt. So just some key items there that needed to be done a long time ago, and there will continue to be more, but we're really excited about these. We've been wearing them a ton. We've been wearing them in videos, but we hadn't actually even told you that they existed. So we'll link all of our apparel and gear and everything in the video description as well. Let's talk, how do we want to do this? Let's do soft baits first, and then I'm just gonna work my way through here. There's no particular order at all. This one is really cool. Again, this came out at ICAST. This is the Yamamoto Slinko, not a Senko, a Slinko. It's a floating bait. This is designed for Neko rigging or Neko rigging. Weight in the bottom, wacky hooked in the middle. The difference, traditionally, we all throw our Nico rigs with a Senko. That's what I use, that's what Tim used. We use 5-inch Senko. But they built this because it floats. It was genius. And I didn't grab electric shad by accident. As you guys know, that's our main color that we throw in clear water in the fall when we're throwing that Nico rig. And it's awesome in this floating worm. So a really, really good idea to have a Nico rig that'll stand up almost like a bigger Ned rig down there on the bottom. I'm really excited about that. The next one that really jumped out at me, I was very excited to see these. Netbait, they have the Big Bopper, which is a swimming worm. The Big Bopper is not as big as it sounds. It's like a 5-inch bait, and I have smashed fish on it. I love throwing swimming worms. Sometimes I'm fishing them, throw them out and swim them through the grass. You just sort of snake them through. Sometimes I fish them just like a worm on a weighted Texas rig, flipping them into cover, but they've got a little bit of swim on their way in and out. But they're just deadly. I grew up throwing them on the California Delta. I throw them a lot when we're in fisheries with grass. Like when we go to Florida, you have to have some style of swimming worm tied on. I was very glad to see that Netbait came out with the Mega Bopper. So more of a standard size, like a 7-inch swimming worm. And then it's got bait fuel in it, which is a huge deal. We've talked a lot about that. I don't have to go down that rabbit hole again, but it's a full size swimming worm. And I'm really excited about this Mega Bopper. The Big Bopper is a bait I have a ton of confidence on. I've caught so many fish with that thing, but there's been a lot of times where they were eating that one. I couldn't get them to eat a Zoom or something else for whatever reason, but I just wished I had a bigger one, and we finally have it. Next up, this is a cool one. Reaction Innovations just came out with, in their Flirt worm, the Fat Flirt. So it's an 8-inch worm. Reminds me of like a way upsized trick worm. So to me, this is a big shaky head worm. That's where it's working for me. So a full 8-inch worm, but it's a bigger version of the Flirt. So it's got that really unique tail where it's got the 4 edges to it. So you get a ton of movement out of that tail as you work that bait. That tail's back there really moving in the water. Reaction Innovations colors. I mean, we love Reaction Innovations. We've loved the Flirt worm for what? At least 10 years. It's really cool to see a great big one come out. Here on the Tennessee River, we throw those bigger profiled worms a lot. You know, we throw the T-Mac, but then we go up from there. So it's cool to see that great big Flirt. I didn't grab it in June bug by accident. As you guys know, if I'm throwing a shaky head, I mean, that's my color. So very excited about that one. Next up, the Spro Rock Crawler. One of the best baits for grinding around rock in the fall, highland reservoir fishing, chasing smallmouth, chasing spotted bass. It's a wide action crankbait. It deflects extremely well, tons of movement. I was very excited to see this guy come out. This is the Rock Crawler 50 Deep Diver. So you're getting that much smaller profile down deeper. I love mid cranks. That's what I call this category. They're not square bills, they're not shallow crankbaits, they're not deep divers. Those mid cranks, a lot of people overlook them. You know, you tell somebody you're on a crankbait bite, one guy's throwing a square bill, the other guy's throwing a 6XD. There's a mountain of fish that get overlooked right there in the middle. So throwing a mid diver is deadly. Getting a mid diver to go just a little bit deeper sometimes is the deal. Especially this time of year. We start getting those cold nights and those fish will just back out a little bit further. And I think that 50 DD is gonna be deadly in that exact scenario for a lot of people. Next one. This isn't brand new. Tim talked about these earlier in the year, but this is a fantastic option. So we love throwing a chatterbait. Who doesn't like throwing a chatterbait? The chatterbait custom now comes in a naked version. So it comes skirtless. There has been a huge push because of pressure, right? We all know that in the last couple of years, the amount of people fishing has exploded. So as a result, a lot of the things that you used to throw at your lake either aren't working as well or aren't working at all because you're not the only guy doing it. So the naked chatterbait, or a chatterbait without a skirt on it, has become more and more popular. So instead of having to tear apart a jackhammer, now we can just grab these. They're a whole lot less money, but you can put a Swimbait on them. You could put a spunk shad on them. You know, there's a lot of really good trailer options, but it's just a more natural, little bit downsized, more natural, doesn't have that big pulsing skirt, just a really good presentation. If you're fishing a chatterbait in a place where a lot of other people are doing it too, throwing a skirtless chatterbait is definitely something you want to look into. This is kind of the most niche of all of this, but really important. Some people are going to understand this and you need this. Other people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's the least glamorous of the bunch. The Owner CPS Springs. We use these for everything. The centering pin. We use these for getting our Kitex to stay on a flashy swimmer longer, right? It's what we add to hooks to screw into a bait so they don't pull down so easily. We use these day in and day out. The only problem with a CPS spring is that if you have ever tried to put a screw lock, like regular plastics, no big deal. But elastomer plastics, the stretchy plastics, like probably the most popular one would be Z-Man, right? Z-Man makes all of their stuff super stretchy. Those plastics are almost impossible to put a screw lock into. They're just too rigid. Like you get in there a couple turns, but you can't keep going. So Owner answered that. They came out with the CPS Slims, small, medium, large, just like in the standard CPS spring. But if you're a guy who throws a lot of those stretchy plastics and you want them to last forever, because they naturally last a really long time. But if you're throwing that on, say, a Texas rig, and you want one to never fail, let me see if I can get one of these separated. They're all kind of balled up in here. I grabbed the large size so I could show it to you. Get one that's not balled up. Come on out of there. They've done two things with these. One, they eliminated, hopefully you can see the spring, they eliminated half of the twists. So you can add this to a hook that you're gonna Texas rig with, put one of those plastics on it, and I mean, you're gonna go 20, 30, 40, 50 fish without changing that thing. So they eliminated about half of the twists because you don't need them for those plastics. And that's about as far in as you can get them anyway. And then the second thing they did is both the main point and the point on the screw are sharpened. They're cut on an angle, so they're actually pointy to help you get them into those plastics. So for a guy who doesn't throw a lot of that style of plastic, there's no benefit for you here over a standard CPS. But a lot of us are starting to fish a lot of these plastics, and this was a must-have. I'm really, really glad that they came out with these. That's a huge deal for me. I use them a ton, and that will make a very big difference all through this coming spring for me. We've got 3 more to go here. Couple topwaters and a Swimbait. Obviously in fall, you know, guys in the north are like, why are you talking about topwater right now? You guys are just trying to get a few more days in before it's just plain too cold. Guys in the south, true south, are like, awesome, temperatures are finally getting low enough that fish are getting aggressive and I can throw topwater again. This time of year is funny as you go around the country. So a couple of topwaters for you. We'll go right here. The River to Sea opening bell. It's buzzbait-esque. That's about where it ends. It's like half buzzbait, half whopper plopper. It's a crazy bait. Very unique. I was slow to pick this one up. It was Crazy enough that I was like, I don't know about that one. But this thing is so loud, so obnoxious, and so different. It's definitely worth taking a look at, especially if you're on one of those fisheries where they like a loud buzz bait. So this bait, some unique features about it. The blade is in line, so it's not up on an arm, it's in line. It's got the loudest clacker. Doesn't sound like much here. In the water, it is so loud, it's insane. It's got a solid body. It still sinks, but it sinks much slower than a traditional buzz. So it's easy to get it to stay up on top. You can go really slow with it. And then the skirt is in the back and it's hiding a monster jig hook that's got a good keeper on it. This comes in two sizes. The big one is big. I prefer the small one, flat out. That's the one that I think fishes in more places. The last really unique feature about the opening bell is it has a hook hanger on the belly and it comes with a treble hook. So there's so much going on here. If you're throwing it in a place where you need it to be relatively weedless, don't add the treble hook. Fish it just like a standard buzz. But if you're throwing it around open water, throwing it on docks in the fall, throwing it around edges of grass, by all means add a treble hook to this thing and your hookup ratio goes even higher. It's just a completely unique design all the way around. All right, this guy. I recently reviewed the Owner Cultiva, the Zip and Ziggy, the tiny topwater, and it's not a new bait at all. Thing's been around forever, but it was new to me, and I've been blasting fish on it. I've caught so many fish on that thing this fall that I started playing with a bunch of the other Owner Cultiva baits. I'm like, well, if I missed that one, I probably missed some other ones too. And I latched onto their popper. It's a slim profiled popper. It's a small popper. Comes with perfect hardware. I mean, it comes from Owner. How's it not going to have good hardware on it, right? Good split rings, good hooks, right out of the pack. You don't have to do anything. What makes this popper so unique is that it's got, not only does it have sound, it's not really a rattle, it's like a weight transfer in it. So it casts really well. I can fish it on long distance, and it's got a ton of racket, which most of my really small poppers don't have. It's completely different. There are days where I want that sound, there's days where I don't want that sound, but it is so unique, so different from all the rest, and definitely worth taking a look at. And then last but not least, we had to end somewhere. Scottsboro Tackle. I've talked a lot about their swim baits in the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of their baits have just found their way into my arsenal. I blast fish on them. So this year, Tim and I have both really latched on to the burrito swim bait. So much so that we partnered with Mike Buca and did our own custom tactical shad color. And that is a jig hooked soft swim bait. Obviously, we love that bait. Even when I have a favorite, I never stop looking. I love tackle, I love swim baits. I buy just about everything that comes out unless I can tell that it's just a complete dud. So when Scottsboro came out with a jig hook bait, I had to try it. Here we are. It's a killer. It's got such a good swim to it. This reminds me of the old school days of bass tricks. For the young guy, you have no idea what I'm saying. For the guy who's been fishing for a long time, you're like, okay, I'm tracking. It's got that super aggressive tail kick. It's got the body wobble, and it's got a head hunt. So try to picture all that together. It has a ton of movement as it's coming through the water, a ton. It's got, I don't know how heavy the lead in that head is, but it's heavy. Ledge fishing, no problem. Chucking and winding, no problem. Like I could throw this up on the bank and just fish it. I could skip it under docks and fish it, but I could also turn around, bomb this on a ledge in current, let it go to 25 foot and start slow rolling bottom. It's a very versatile bait in a perfect size. It's bigger than your standard paddle tail. It's smaller than most big swim baits. It's just right there in the middle, and it has such a good swim, so much movement. That is a really unique one. I had to try that jig hook version because I like their other swim baits so much, and I was highly impressed. And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Down in the video description, I'll link all the baits, all the gear. I'll give you my favorite sizes and colors wherever that's applicable. I love doing these for you. I love gear reviews. I love playing with the new stuff, and I love being able to report some of that back, give you guys some ideas of new things to play with, and try and eliminate a lot of the wasted time and money so that you don't have to go out and try the 40 duds or 50 duds or 500 duds it takes to find a really good bait. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.